What is up everyone? Welcome to a brand new weekly news series from Zelda Dungeon and Zelda Informer. Breath of the Wild will be launching in just a few weeks, and as the release date of March 3rd gets closer and closer, Nintendo is just flooding us with more news than some of us can even handle. This is where this new series comes in to help. Between all of the interviews, trailers, screenshots, and official announcements, it may be a bit difficult to stay up to date on absolutely everything and figure out what is actually new news and what is just the same questions and answer from a different interview. So we will be gathering the more important news and announcements throughout the week and putting them all in one Nintendo and Zelda focused news video so you don't miss out on anything. As I previously stated, this will be a weekly news video series, so be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on all of the important Nintendo and Breath of the Wild related news. These stories will be coming from ZeldaInformer.com, so for even more information, you can follow the links to each story in the description below. In this week's video, we'll be covering the recent announcement from Aonuma about Breath of the Wild getting 3 separate DLC packages. He mentions a brand new 2D Zelda game for the Switch, a roundup of almost everything you could possibly want to know about how the dungeons in the game are different than anything that you've seen in previous Zelda games, and much more. And with all of that out of the way, let's get started. First up on our list, we have Aonuma mentioning a 2D Zelda game for the Switch. During an interview, he was asked if since the Switch is a hybrid console, if he would be combining the 3DS and the Wii U teams to work together on the next Zelda game to speed up development. He tells us the dev pace is not really dependent on how many people are on a team, so combining them would not necessarily expedite the development pace. The 3DS team and the Wii U team have different approaches to game development, so I don't necessarily want to combine them and have them think together, but rather have each think about what they can bring to the Nintendo Switch from their own perspective. The handheld development team will not be phased out because of Nintendo Switch. The Switch will allow the users to bring their home consoles on the go, but this doesn't mean handheld game development like Nintendo 3DS will be discontinued. Yes, there is definitely a possibility that the 3DS Zelda team is working on a Switch title. There are definitely good things about the 2D world and the playstyles of the 2D world. There are a lot of fans who enjoy that style, the Nintendo Switch style, which is the evolved style of gameplay. I want you to think of it more as an evolved style of 2D style. For the 3DS team, I'm trying to make them think in a more evolved 2D style approach. This is very interesting seeing as Link Between the World was in fact a fully realized 3D game like Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild. However, it used clever camera tricks to look more like a top-down 2D game. We could see this in full effect when the camera penned down for Link to move on a wall like a painting. Second on our list is actually a pretty entertaining interview between Game Informer, Miyamoto, and Aonuma. In this interview, Game Informer asks 51 different questions. Amongst them are questions that pertain to Breath of the Wild's content and the difference between the Wii U and the Switch versions of the upcoming Zelda title. Shigeru Miyamoto and Eiji Aonuma answer questions like, what is Link's last name? And Hyrule is the place, but what planet is Hyrule on? At one point, Aonuma jokingly confirms Paper Zelda, saying that they're working on it, but it's hard to tell if he's being serious or not, as throughout the interview several jokes are made. At number 3 is something that has been a bit controversial. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is getting DLC. Confirmed by Nintendo via post on Twitter. The official announcement tells us starting when the game launches on March 3rd, players will be able to purchase an expansion pass for $19.99, granting access to new sets of downloadable content for the game when they become available later this year. Immediately upon pre-purchase or purchase of the expansion pass, 3 new treasure chests will appear in the game's Great Plateau area. One of these treasure chests will contain a shirt with the Nintendo Switch logo that Link can wear during his adventure. The other 2 will deliver useful items. The first content pack is scheduled to launch this summer and will include the addition of a Cave of Trials challenge, a new hard mode, and a new feature for the in-game map. The second content pack will launch in holiday 2017 and adds new challenges that will let players enjoy a new dungeon and a new original story. The expansion pass will be available for both the Nintendo Switch and the Wii U versions of the game and are identical. Content packs cannot be purchased individually. So the controversy here comes with fans thinking Nintendo is releasing the game in an incomplete state or has deliberately withheld dungeons and a portion of the game. This simply isn't true. The only thing you will be getting on day 1 are the 3 chests, which probably takes an hour or 2 to add in the game. The summer and winter content, which is the real reason for buying the expansion pack, isn't even finished yet. You'll be able to download the Cave of Trial with the rest of Content Pack 1 in the summer, and the extra dungeon with the story DLC in the second content pack in the winter because it will take that long for Nintendo to finish everything. Nintendo could have released the game, decided not to continue working on DLC, and dropped all support, but they didn't. They chose to reward the players who had bought the game by continuing to work on the game after its release. Next, we have a roundup of information given during a gameplay demo by Game Informer. Attacking on horseback with items such as pitchforks work very well. You can knock people off their horse and then take the battle on foot. Lizalfos can be covered in snow and then pop out and come to life. Multiple enemies can attack at once. Lizalfos can take up to 6 hearts of damage at once. Make potions to soften your steps and be quieter. Fire arrows work well against Lizalfos. Firing a bomb arrow at a guardian can interrupt their lasers. A laser shot can kill you in one hit if you have 6 hearts. You can wander into areas with enemies that will take you out easily. This is kind of obvious. If a Lizalfos, one of the most common enemies, can take up to 6 hearts, then I'm pretty sure there's other enemies and bosses that will take up to 10 hearts with damage. And since we're getting a hard mode or a hero mode, it probably doesn't even matter if you're going to have all the hearts that's available in the game. You're probably going to be one hit killed by at least somebody. So this is very interesting. Cook a bunch of hot pepper meals to take into snow areas to stop losing hearts from shivering. Serene Stable is one of the stables you'll come across. You can go down to the bottom of the ravine and explore. Bosch Kala Shrine is one of the shrines you can find. One shrine has puzzles where you can control wind vents with your magnet tool to roll a ball to a goal. Almost all shrines have an extra chest in them to grab. Next, we have an interesting story. Miyamoto is known for always saying he puts gameplay first before anything else. After all, if a game at its core isn't fun to play, it won't matter how great the graphics are or stories are if the game itself is boring. So when Aonuma was asked about the seemingly more story-driven Breath of the Wild versus the perception of his lack of interest in story, he responded with this. Let me start off by saying that Mr. Aonuma and his team, instead of creating a game where you're playing the story, you yourself are embarking on an adventure. I think they've found a unique way to strike a balance between the story and the fact that you're on an adventure. It's not that I don't like the story, that I'm denying the importance of the story. I think after someone has played a game, it's important that a story lingers in their mind. But what I do think is a challenge is to cut down on playtime to set up and explain a story that's already been set. I think what's important, especially for the Zelda series, is for the person to be able to think it through for themselves and to really live the story. I think that's the challenge we've been working on through the many iterations of The Legend of Zelda. And so, in this game, while you're playing, you start to kind of dig the narrative out and see the overarching story that lies in the background. And so, I think the story in Breath of the Wild still doesn't break the balance that's been established in previous Zelda games. But we also want to make a game where, after someone is done playing, their experience in that game is what the story is. And I think we've been able to accomplish that with this title. And really, in this game, everybody can take very, very different routes and approaches. How long it takes to beat the game has a huge range. Next, we have some interesting details on the dungeons found within Breath of the Wild. Unlike the 2D maps in past Zelda games, dungeon maps are a fully realized 3D model. Specific locations you need to pursue are marked. You can't see a floor-by-floor layout. There are no dungeon compasses in this game. Dungeons are smaller and less labyrinth and maze-like. Dungeons have a friendly voice guiding you that offers general hints and warns you of the boss. The voice is not heard outside of the dungeon, and Nintendo has not mentioned who the voice belongs to. Dungeons do not hide items that are required to complete the dungeon. Bosses won't be based around a singular dungeon-focused item. When you find a dungeon, you need to make sure you have everything you need and lots of it. One dungeon has pockets of poisonous sentient liquid that hurts you to touch. This substance is called malice, and little eyeballs will sprout from these patches. Attacking the eyeball would clear away the malice and sometimes constituted a small puzzle. Diamond-shaped switches that can be activated with an attack are present and still react to your sword, bombs, and arrows. In one dungeon, after activating a switch with the Sheikah Slate, Link was able to control the dungeon slightly. When looking at the map, you can tilt the dungeon in order to open new paths or to make blocks and switches slide around. Last up on our list is an interesting tidbit from Aonuma, where he mentions he wants Breath of the Wild to make fans laugh. He was asked, "When watching the latest trailer, I asked myself, is this game more mature than the previous ones?" Aonuma answered, "Naturally, by watching the trailer, you get the impression the game has a pretty serious tone. but it's because when editing it, we use serious looking and impressive segments that will be the best at grabbing the attention of viewers. But just like other Zelda titles, Breath of the Wild is a game that will make you feel lots of different emotions. Just like in other Zelda games, there are serious and dramatic moments, but also some lighthearted ones that will make you laugh, I hope. It's a game that will both move you and make you laugh. And that brings us to the end of our video. Remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future news videos, as well as our podcast and the return of the Zelda Mailbag series, where we will be answering questions sent in from you, the viewers, while giving you a shout out. If you would like to see more videos similar to this, then head over to my channel, youtube.com/GameOverJesse, where you can find new Zelda theories, analysis videos, and more Nintendo news videos every single day.